let's move on to Brevin Jordan.
Okay.
Miami Dolphins.
Miami
Hurricanes.
You're already deciding where he's going to go.
You never know. I mean,
6'3", 245 pounds, was a number 1 tight end recruit coming out in 2018. This is a guy that, again, he's not an overly great blocker, but he started for 3 years for the Hurricanes right down there. And he's one of those guys that, like, when he runs his routes, when you see him, like, oh, dude, he gets it. Like, he can run a route. Like, he can attack the defensive backs pretty well. The one thing I didn't like about Brevin Jordan is his hands. It's the number one thing. He's a big guy. He's athletic. I like the way he runs his routes. I like the way he'll stem his routes, and then he'll stack that receiver pretty good. Like, it's nice to see out of a tight end, but he does. When I was watching it, almost all his catches were short, intermediate catches for the most part.
He did a lot of yards after the catch.
It is
stuff,
which is nice.
I feel like he lost the ball sometimes in the air and let it get in on him or get past him almost.
Sometimes
I'm with you there.
Sometimes
it was very.
Oh, I mean, dude, he caught the ball with his body more than his hands, and he would bumble ball sometimes.
Yeah, he's definitely a closer to the line of scrimmage, like a low A-dot guy. But I think the thing that for me says that he is his special trait. The one thing that makes me very interested in him
is it holding.
What's that?
Is it holding?
Holding.
I saw him do that.
He's so good at it. He's so good at holding.
He's good at it because he didn't get called for it a lot. I was really kind of surprised. I'm like, how did they not catch that? How did they not catch that? He always getting his hands on the outside of outside of the shoulder pads. I'm like,
aggressive.
Yeah.
No, the thing for me is it's the yards after the catch, and it's his ability to actually make guys miss as a tight end, which is not a. I don't know that I've ever said that in watching tight ends saying this guy will make people miss in the open field.
He jumped over a guy.
You don't say that about tight ends. You just don't. Yeah. They're big, they're physical, they're lumbering, they'll run you over, they'll jump over you. But
those are all good adjectives.
But they're not going to juke people out. They're not going to hurdle people. That's
put a shoulder into him. I mean, he can get. You're not tackling him with the arm. He could take if you put an arm around him,
he can make a play
Yeah.
with the ball in his hands. And I think that is the thing for me that I would, even though nobody wants anyone to go to this team, if there were to be another team that were to use 2 tight ends well, I would love to see him go to Baltimore and just feast off of all of the low A-dot stuff and just go buck wild with it.
Well, they just traded for Josh Oliver, so that's
they
not
sure
happening.
Did.
Oh, did they really? I didn't even see that.
Yep. They traded for him today. And I get, and listen.
So low A-dot stuff. I mean, you're talking. He just did a lot of little stuff where he's going behind the line of scrimmage and they're just dumping him little swing passes.
Yeah.
That's mostly what I saw on
And he
tape.
had some problems with those at times.
Yeah, well, he dropped some of those as well.
Yeah, literally. It'd be a swing, a quick out, across the thing. He catches it, into his body, falls out. Yeah.
Right. So I think you and I have a very similar feel of Brevin Jordan, where I think he's athletically has gifts.
Yes.
But he definitely has issues. So to me, I mean, I'm not sure he's a guy that I'm going to latch onto unless he finds himself in a situation that I cannot say no to. You know what I mean? And I don't know what that perfect situation even is right now. But I'll note when I see it.
I wrote down. I wrote down. I would like to see him in a West Coast offense where they keep things short and sweet to get the ball in his hands. Use kind of like Austin Hooper when they had him in Atlanta, where he was the tight end, kind of essentially one. Where I can see a team that's using him a lot of on screens,
screens,
out routes,
inside
shallow,
screens.
all those shallow routes, anything that gets in the ball in his hands really fast, right? That's what I like to see. Because there's a lot of concerns here. When I mentioned Kyle Pitts Dynasty Gold, I don't see that here at Brevin Jordan. I see a guy who could help an NFL football team, but I see a team that has a lot of worries because, I mean, if you press him and he has to do a contested catch, he's going to fail every single time. He was terrible on all the tape I watched versus contested catches. And couldn't make a single one. He didn't go out, he's not a hands catcher. So the ball's away from him, he struggles, right? And if the ball's in him.
That was my biggest negative as well, that he is more of a body catcher than a hands catcher. And that is the biggest drawback for me. And he's actually a little bit undersized too at only 6'3". So, but I think if he's used similar to Irv Smith Jr., how Evan Ingram was early in his career, I think he compares to those players very favorably. And I think he has a very similar skill set to those guys.
I see a path for success.
I see a path as well. I'm not sure how much of an appetite an NFL coach is going to have for the drops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's going to have to I think he's going to have to improve in that area in order for him to succeed. And people have done it. It's not impossible to do.
Yeah.
But you've also seen people not do it and just disappear from the league. You know what I mean? Or just turn into a blocking tight end. Like they improve on their blocking, and that's their role.
Sure.
So from a fantasy football standpoint, if he doesn't improve his hands, I'm just not sure if he's ever going to tap that potential.
I can see him being he'll finish the year once as tight end 7 overall. The hype will get a little bit high. And then I feel like he's gonna be one of those guys right around if he pans out, right, tight end 9 to tight end 14, right in that range. It's just
there's a lot of those guys. Like we were talking about,
there's a lot. You can get Logan Thomas
right
for the draft pick you would get here, and he'd probably offer better production.
So I mean, we're talking Kyle Pitts in the early part of the first round to the mid part of the first round is probably the range that he's going to be going in, and now we're talking about tight ends that I think are going to be end of the second round or into the second round, and guys that are going to be the third.
Well, actually, the next tight end we're talking about I actually like a lot.
I do too.
I think
I would take him in tight end premium league significantly higher. For me, Brevin Jordan, I feel like there's other tight ends in here that we're going to talk about.
So he's got some warts, I guess. Brevin Jordan.
Yeah,
right?
like guys like Noah Gray, for example.
I like Noah Gray a lot.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm looking for upside, it's just Brevin Jordan worries me. There's a lot of red flags there that make me think because he's going to be a hot name. I think he's going to be a high enough draft prospect. I think he's a hot name right now in the Dynasty community.
Yeah.
I would just say be wary. I feel like the draft pick that you're going to use on Brevin Jordan, you can go out and get somebody a little bit better or that's going to give you the same production that's more guaranteed.
Similar
you know
upside later in the draft.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I mean, Logan Thomas is older, but I would rather have Logan Thomas than Brevin Jordan, which is crazy. I mean, you know what I mean?
I don't disagree with that.
But
You've already gone through the development process with him.
Yeah.
Obviously, Logan Thomas is older, but at least you've seen a little bit on the NFL level. You've seen him do it. So I don't disagree with that either.
It's a lot of things to worry about with Brevin. It's his hands, and that's the number one thing. Again,
sure.
We're talking about Kyle Pitts. His hands are great for him. The body catches, the inconsistency, the fact that the ball has to be on him. He can't really spread out for the ball. If you put a body on him, I feel like if I'm a defensive coordinator, you're going to put him out here, I'm just going to press him every single time.
Press
I'm
him.
A big-bodied a defensive back here. I'm gonna press him, and he's gonna fail every single time.
And I think he's gonna have issues in blocking unless he cleans that up, because I really do think he was very handsy on tape.
I will say, and I think it is just simply I'm a little bit higher than you guys are on Brevin Jordan. If they're pressing him, I think he's a good enough athlete and a good enough route runner to be able to beat guys. Now, if it's contested catch situations, I don't have a ton of confidence in him. I'm with you on that. But I think you guys are underselling his athletic ability a little bit.
No,
on some of those types of things. Like you can't just put a safety on him, press him, and say oh, he's locked down now. Like I think he can beat a lot of coverage.
But he's not the type of player that I mean, obviously,
I'm not throwing him jump balls in the end zone.
Exactly.
Right.
No one's going to be Kyle Pitts. So it's hard to watch Kyle Pitts and then go back and watch these other guys and have,
it's not very
have
fair.
a really favorable opinion of him.
And you're not going him in the red zone. And if you have a tight end that doesn't produce in the red zone, he's almost worthless. He really is. Because if you're not scoring touchdowns, you're at tight end, you're almost worthless because you're not getting the receptions and you're not getting the yards that you need to be high end. So that's a good point. So again, I'm not arguing you his athletic ability, right? I'm okay with his short, quick slants on here, the way he's able to get on top of a receiver there, and I like that. And I love him with the ball in his hands. What I'm worried about at the next level
getting him the ball.
is getting the ball in his hands to produce enough at a high enough level. Like you said, no coach is going to live with those drops.
No.
Nobody's going to live with all those body catches. Those body catches in the NFL that he had in Miami that I was watching, multiple ones that he didn't catch, could be easily in the NFL interceptions.
Yeah,
right?
Interceptions are just drive killers, man. You're looking for at 5-yard out. It should be a relatively easy pass, and he's bumbling those type of things and dropping them, just flat out dropping them. So.
But he's got great upside because I do love everything you love. It's not I understand. Let me put this. I understand why you like him a lot.
Yeah.
It's just I have enough concerns for my dynasty roster and such a deep draft class that I have some worries. If Brevin Jordan is there in the 3rd round, I'm excited. You know what I mean? If he's in the 2nd round, I could do better here at wide receiver, right? And then, because I'd rather take the wide receiver here and then take another tight end after him, like a guy like Noah Gray.
Sure.
In the
yeah,
3rd.
we'll get to him.
And that's all. That's the only difference. I see the upside with Brevin Jordan. I just sometimes you got to wonder if the juice is worth the squeeze. Mm-hmm. And if you ask me, hey, do you think, same thing, your life depends on it. Will Brevin Jordan turn out and be a consistent top 8 dynasty tight end, fantasy football tight end for 5 years? My answer would be no.
No, mine would be no as well, but I would have a hard time saying that for almost any rookie coming out in the past few years other than
No.
Hawkinson and Pitts.
Noah Fant, I would have said that yes about.
I don't know that I would have.
Mark Andrews, I would have said that coming out.
Confidently.
I loved him coming out. Gesicki, I liked coming out. Like something like that. I could see that. Like, again, with Brevin Jordan, when I watch his tape, I'm like, this does not equal success as an NFL. If you can clean that up, for sure. But what's the hardest thing to clean up?
Hands, man.
Hands.
It really is.
It's the hardest thing
It's
to clean
tough.
up.
If you're not a natural hands catcher, it shows up on tape, and it's one of the toughest things to like really get good at.
100%.